I experienced a car accident. I got hit by a car going 45 miles per hour as a pedestrian. I got hit really hard. And that not only changed my perspective on life, but everything I did moving forward from that date on.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
So we are going to get things rolling, and we are very, very excited for a very incredible guest tonight. We have none other than the person that's going to be leading the call is Miss Lisa Caprara. She's a former professional soccer player from the Tampa Bay Strikers, and those of you that are in sports know that that is no easy task to make a professional soccer league. She's also worked with one of the most iconic organizations in the world, the New York Yankees. But what truly makes Lisa exceptional isn't just her background in elite sports and high performance environments. It's who she has become through her experiences. She embodies discipline, resilience, leadership, and the ability to perform under pressure. Traits like that directly translate into winning in business and in all aspects of life. So I'm incredibly excited today. Today, she's doing big things in business and using everything she's learned to pour into others, especially the next generation, like each and every one of you today. She understands what it takes to succeed at a high level, and most importantly, how to teach it. So we are incredibly fortunate to have her with us tonight to share some of the principles that she learned along the way, a lot of times not taught in school, but taught in the school of the hard knocks, and that can help shape the trajectory of your life forever. Please, everybody, give a warm welcome for Lisa, and let's give her some love in the chat. Let's see some emojis. Let's see some fire, and really give her attention today. And what we might do is the top kids that engage the most, ask the most questions, pay attention the most, we're going to have some special prizes for.
Whatever it is, get yourself out of your comfort zone. Ask yourself, are you doing enough? Am I being challenged today? Is this easy or is this hard? Everybody goes to practice, right? I had so many practices, so many scrimmages, stuff like that. And I always ask myself, am I giving myself 110%? Or am I just going through the motions, right? So when you're given the opportunity to show up, for soccer players, you put your shin guards on, you tie your laces real tight, you get ready, you get mentally prepared, right? When you're at practice, are you giving your all? You got to ask yourself that question. Are you running as fast as you possibly can? Or are you just doing just enough so where you feel comfortable? What separates average from amazing, right? It's putting in that extra effort. It's that fight in you. It's that heart in you. It's the passion. You're not there just because you want to, just go through the motions and whatever. My mom and dad signed me up, right? You're there because you love the game. You can't forget that at a young age, right? You got to take advantage of every moment that you have in front of you and get after it. Be a go-getter. Now, when I was young, I experienced a car accident. I got hit by a car going 45 miles per hour as a pedestrian. Now, it was April 20th, 2006, and I was about I think 9 years old. I speak on a lot of stages, a lot of podcasts about this. A lot of people ask me questions because it's crazy. I'm so blessed and thankful to be here breathing and to share this story with you guys. I was at a young age. I got hit really hard, and that not only changed my perspective on life, but everything I did moving forward from that date on. I remember the day perfectly. It was April 20th, 2006. My sister had soccer practice, and me and my mom and my sister went to go get a takeout order. So we wanted food after practice. So we had all these trays of Burnett barbecue in New Jersey. And I remember I was young and I was so energized, so hyper, and I was so excited to get to my car. I started running. And once I got to the middle of the street, I heard my mom scream, "Stop!" So loud. And I'm thinking, what is she yelling at? And as I went to go turn around, Black Mustang was getting pulled over by a cop, and the Black Mustang hit me going 45 miles per hour. I went airborne. I hit the ground. I cut my head. I chipped my teeth. I blacked out. I didn't know what hit me, but I went to a different place. That moment where I was blacked out, guys, it felt like 10 minutes. And I was in like a waiting room. It was crazy. It was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I thought in that moment, I was never going to see my family again. And that's what taught me something in that moment, that family and the people you love is everything. It's everything. I wasn't worried about what game was on TV. I wasn't worried about any little problems, nothing. I was just so happy I woke up and I was back. And that accident that I got so lucky that I survived, that really taught me what it was like to be mentally tough. Now, with having that in my life, I carried that mental toughness onto the soccer field, into business, into school, into everything and any challenge that's ever been in front of my face. There's not a whole lot of pain that I could feel. And that's what got me so successful, is that mentality, that mental toughness. It's not taught in school. It's taught through adversity. It's taught through hard times. And you guys are very young, and you have a lot of life ahead of you. You have a lot of things that you're going to experience and that you're going to learn along the way. But it's the ones that are prepared, right? I'm here. I'm so thankful to be on this call to share with you guys a lot of my knowledge and the stuff that I wish people taught me when I was your age. Because you find out later in life, as you get older, a lot of things through experiences. Now, I know there's a soccer team on here. I don't know how old you guys are or what age group, but when it comes to soccer, I want you to know that it's the person who's not watching you, right? It's the people that doubt you. When you go to the field and run extra sprints, you want to get faster. What do you got to do? You got to run faster. You got to do more. You gotta go up against the person that's the fastest on the team, and guess what? You gotta beat them. That's what puts you out of your comfort zone. But if you run against the person that's really slow, you're not really getting better. That's just at a comfort level, right? So really, no matter what sport you guys play, no matter what you do, if you don't play sports, if you want to be a painter, you want to be a music artist, you want whatever it is you want to be in life, just make sure you are putting yourself in that environment and you're challenging yourself every single day. That's how you get better. And then when you take negative and hard times, right? Everybody deals with a hard time in their life. No one's perfect. This life isn't all sunshines and rainbows. There are hard times, and that's what shapes you to grow. You got to learn to love the hard times. You got to learn to love running the sprints, doing those hard workouts, because if you don't love it, then it's not gonna turn out well, right? Anyone on here have any questions specifically regarding mental toughness? I love to talk and get to know you guys on a deeper level.
And remember, kids, those that ask the most questions participate the most. We might have some prizes to hand out here. So Fernanda's going to be paying attention. So feel free. Don't be shy.
Can raise your hand, and we can field some questions throughout the call here.
Yeah. How did you so like what I've learned a lot is that you should push through, you should find a way around your problems and try to make a solution. So how did you find a way to do that in some time in your life?
Okay.
And welcome back, Uncle. Welcome back.
Thank you, buddy. Good to hear that voice of yours. Can't wait to see that smiling face.
So situation in my life. When I was in high school, I was senior year. I played for PDA, Players Development Academy in the state of New Jersey for soccer. Soccer was my life. I won state champions in high school, 4-year varsity. I was captain, everything, headlines in the newspapers, scored the most goals. You got to maintain that level too, But one thing I faced was my coach, somebody that I looked up to, somebody that was supposed to give me the best advice, to have my back, right? He told me, because my goal was to play Division I soccer. That was my goal. That's what I wanted. I knew what I wanted, and that's what I was working towards every time I showed up at practice and games. And all my effort is I wanted to play Division I soccer. I wanted to play soccer at the highest level, and I knew it. I knew what I wanted. And my coach said to me, he looked me right in my face, and he said, "Lisa, it's getting late in the game, and you haven't found a college. I suggest you start looking at Division IIIs or Division II schools." And I looked at him, and I was like, this is a problem in my head. My coach, someone I'm supposed to look up to, wasn't giving me what I wanted to hear. I knew that I was a great soccer player. I knew my self-worth. I knew how much effort I put in, how every tackle, every goal, every minute of my game, right? Every time I worked hard. I knew that I was a Division I player. I knew that was the level I was capable of playing at. And hearing that from my coach was a problem. So what did I do? I didn't listen to him. I listened to me, and I said to myself, who is going to try harder to get recruited to go to a Division I school than me? This is my life. You're the author. I like to tell a lot of my athletes, because I'm a mindset coach, I like to tell everybody, you're the author of your own story. Don't ever give anyone else the pen. You're the artist of your own story. Don't hand anybody else the paintbrush. You get one life to live, and then it's over. And you have to do what makes you happy. And you have to know what you want. You have to go and get what you want. And nobody else is going to do it besides you. There might be people to guide you along the way and give you a round of applause, but that round of applause isn't going to get you what you want. It might be praise, but it takes hard work to get what you want. And you have to be consistent. And you have to not stop until you get it. You're going to face problems. You're going to face people that doubt you and that don't think that you can do it. Maybe it's because they couldn't do it. And I realized that my coach didn't play Division I soccer. He thought that was too big. So when you think bigger and you have that mindset of a go-getter, you can accomplish anything that you set your mind to, but you can't let the distractions get in the way. Right? Whether it's, me getting recruited to a Division I school or not, I didn't need anybody to believe in me, because I knew in my head that I spent countless hours and days and weeks training for that. Years. I trained years. My dad used to pay extra to put me in private sessions, and I used to get annoyed. I was like, why do I have to go to this practice? Oh my gosh, it's snowing out. It's raining out. I didn't feel like going. But then now that I'm older, I realize, wow, my father put me in a spot where he set me up for success. And I took advantage of it. I always gave it my all. Every time he put me in a training session, when you're put in an environment and when you're given an opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. You have to. Because if you don't, guess what it is? It's a waste of time. And that's the scariest thing in the world. Your time is so valuable. Today, everyone, today is the youngest you will ever be in your life. Isn't that crazy? Today is the youngest you'll ever be in your entire life. That's why it's so important to take advantage of every moment, every opportunity you get. Never say no to opportunity. Why? Why not, Lisa? Why? Because you never know what path it might take you down. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know. But if you say no, you will never know. You'll never know. It's always important to take risks, guys. As you get older, take risks, live your life, know what you want, and don't let anybody else distract you from that. You always have to remind yourself. It's called positive reinforcement. Always remind yourself, why did I start? Whatever it is you started. You played baseball? Why did I start playing baseball? What, am I going to quit right now? Because it got too hard? Then guess what? You are not capable of playing at the highest level. You want to know why? Not because you're not good enough, because you don't care. You don't care. And if you don't care, why should I? Right? That's the first thing. You got to make sure that you care. This is your life. You can't forget it. It's your life. Your parents can put you in situations and let the butterfly fly, let the bird fly the nest, right? But you got to take advantage of that moment. And that's pretty much.
No, I love that. That was a beautiful answer. And I'll piggyback on that a little bit.
Always talk about is faith, right? And I think a lot of times it comes down to perspective, because we could have something happen to us, but that thing that happens to us does not define us. But what if we reframe what happens to us just like Lisa did? And what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times we think, well, this bad thing that happened to us that gave us a setback in life is setting us so far back that mindset and that mentality, like my mentor always says, Tim Story, cements us in that setback. But if we have a little bit different perspective and we understand that, hey, maybe that setback is temporary, but it's the very answer to your prayers to everything that you want and more. And that setback is really that setup for your biggest comeback ever that you ever realized inside of your life. Because you think about it, when we pray for things in life, kids, the life that we want, the dreams that we want to accomplish, God just doesn't hand it over on a silver platter, because you need to be a good steward of those very blessings. And how do you be a good steward? Well, you got to put in the work. Just like Lisa put in the work and she was one of the best soccer players out. Well, that built something inside her that led her to living a not ordinary life, but an extraordinary life that allows her to be on this call today talking to each and every one of you. So her very setback she's talking on this call was not really a setback in the long run. It was the setup and likely the very answer to her prayers to get her where they wanted to go. But when we look at things through that lens, again, like my mentor says, it gives us a miracle mentality. And then we ask ourselves the question, no matter how dark the situation, what's the love, the light, and the lesson that's here? Because then when we're focused on that, hey, what's the love, the light, and the lesson in this situation? Now what we're doing, as opposed to focusing on the setback, we're focusing on the setup, and we're focusing on the expansion, and we're focusing on going after our dreams. So no matter where you're at, I know one of the next questions we had on here too, how do you deal with trauma? Well, it's the same thing. Hey, this trauma I went through, what's the love, the light, and the lesson that it taught me? What did it build into me that's going to allow me to be a better version of myself to maybe help other people? You know, I've been through plenty of financial trouble when I was younger, but that was the very thing that setback was my setup to building multiple 7-8 figure businesses that allow me to impact today. You know, when I was a kid labeled with a learning disability, that was a temporary setback, but it was a setup so I could go out there and prove everybody wrong, baby. And I could go out and teach everybody that we are not defined by our labels. So every single thing that happens to us, I have a beautiful boy that's 5 years old on the autism spectrum. And a lot of parents might think, oh, I have this boy with us all these challenges, but he's a beautiful blessing to me. And it's leading to me to start an autism clinic to not only help my son, but to help countless others. So always pay attention. The things that we might see because society teaches us is a setback is really our setup. And that can make us excited about those situations when we're in it. It might not feel it at the time, but there will be a light at the end of that tunnel. And it's our perspective that's gonna bring us to that light. So I just want to add that in there. And yeah, let's keep going with the question. What's the next question that we had here, Fernanda?
Real quick, that setback.
We'll let Lisa go here first.
About the setback, guys, bow and arrow, right? Look, you pull back the bow, boom, it launches into something great, right? So when you experience setbacks, you have to go back, and then when you let go, guess what? It goes forward. It only gets greater from there. So go ahead.
I love it.
Continue. Whose question was next?
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I see some hands raised.
So I've been like trying to be more tougher in my soccer team, because sometimes I'm not always tough, but I try. So I'm just asking you, maybe you might have some advice.
Yeah.
Of how to not be so emotional.
So number one thing with that is don't fear messing up, right? Everybody makes a mistake in every single sport, the highest level, the highest level in your sport, that person has made a mistake. That's how you learn. If you don't make a mistake, you're not going to learn. You're not going to grow. So don't be afraid to do that, to dribble the ball if you have space, to shoot if you have that shot, right? Don't be afraid to make a mistake. If you miss, guess what? Time keeps going. Time goes on, and you get to try again, and you keep going and going. Don't fear making a mistake. Be tough. Don't overthink things. It's a game, right? You know how to play the game. You got to trust yourself. Don't fear anything. Just get after it. You know how the game works. One team has the ball, one team doesn't. Score, it's 1-0, right? So you got to think of it as even with fitness too. Like you're going after the ball. You don't think like, oh, I have to run over there because so I can burn 10 calories. What? No, I'm running over there because I want to get the ball, right? You programmed like that as an athlete. Just know the game, trust yourself, have fun, and have fun with it. Don't fear making a mistake because you are going to make a mistake. I made plenty. I've hit the ball over the goal. I've got kicked out of games. I've made every possible mistake any athlete could make. But that's what makes you great. It's not all the wins. It's not all about all the wins. That's not even a thing. It's if you lose a game, that's when you learn. That's when you grow. Because then when you can fix those mistakes you made. That's how the best players in the world are successful.
I love that. And I'll give you
from me too. While I didn't play professional, I played college baseball, and I was the kid that everybody labeled I wasn't good enough. I was terrible at baseball. I was terrible in high school. The kids made fun of me. They picked on me. They bullied me. So I'm right there with you. But I'll tell you what the difference is being uncommon. And what does that mean? Well, what's uncommon in life is persistence and consistency, work ethic. And I started to realize that. And that was one of the superpowers that I got from my dad. My dad was the hardest working man that I've ever met in my entire life. And I watched him every day. I'm hustling. And when I watched my dad, I realized he was uncommon. And when I too started to be uncommon, putting in the degree of work that nobody else was willing to put in, but I didn't just do it for a day. I didn't do it for a week. I didn't do it for a month. I did it every single day. Heck, I didn't have any friends anyway, so I didn't have anybody to hang out with, nobody taking up my time. So what I did is I spent my time putting in the work of the game that I love so much. But I'll tell you what happened. It didn't happen overnight. I wasn't born with a lot of God-given talent. There was a lot of kids that were that. And that's one of the things I think at first that frustrated me the most is here's all these kids not working as hard as me, but they're playing better than me. But sure enough, with time, that persistence turned into a level of competence and confidence for me that went on where I was the only one at the end, one of the only ones in my high school to go on to play college baseball. I was one of the only ones to have the Atlanta, I didn't make it, but I had the Atlanta Braves knock on my door and invite me to a tryout. So it's all that. What it is today is not your reality per se, but it's like, what are you going to do next? And use maybe the pain that we feel, turn that into purpose, use that as the very fuel that fires you up, knowing that with certainty that if you go out and show up and you give it all and you work hard every day, you're persistent every day, you're consistent every day, that is so uncommon that you will be the last person standing, whether it takes a year, 5 years, whatever that might be. And then you'll be the one sitting there living your dreams when the other ones that were knocking you, they come knocking on your door for a job one day, because that's what happened with me.
Yeah, that's all off of that too. Outworking somebody. There was a time when I first started playing soccer and I wasn't as good skill wise with the footwork. I was put in a group of possession with girls that had better foot skills than I had. And I knew that. And I knew I had to get better. But I said to myself, you know what? I might not have these skills yet, but I will. But I'll tell you one thing, no one is going to outwork me, because it's the person that puts in the heart, the fight, that wins every single time. If you look at like a 1v1 situation, the person who outworks the other person is the winner, right? So if you don't let anybody outwork you, you will win. You will win at the end for sure.
I love it. And then we have
Next question. Feel free to unmute and ask your question. Good to see you.
My question was, how do you build a tough mindset?
It's not built overnight, right? So for me, I had my father was a football coach, right? So everybody who knows football, it's a tough sport. And I was always around him coaching, and I was always the girl that was running through the pads while watching my brother play football. And I was hanging out with all the guys, like just being in that environment. But mental toughness, it's not something you can just give somebody. It's when you face challenges and like when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and you have to be forced to level up, right? So when you're under pressure, right, that's how mental toughness is developed as well. Like when you have to deal with problems, and how do you solve these problems and make these decisions, and I don't know, maybe somebody's telling you you're not good enough, right? And how do you handle that? Are you gonna cry, or are you gonna prove them wrong, right? So it's a choice. It's a choice. It comes down to who are you? Who are you? You gotta never forget what your parents instilled in you. Who you are, where you come from, and you always have to rep that as long as you live. You have to be proud of who you are, where you come from, and you have to be proud of yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself so much that's the number one thing. You don't put anything else before yourself. And when you work on yourself, and when you want to get better, like everybody in the world wants to get better in some way, some capacity, right? You can't let anybody tear you down. This is the mentality you have to have. You have to know this at a young age. There's going to be people that are going to be jealous of you. There's going to be people that are going to laugh at you, make fun of you, maybe pick on you, especially if you're good. It's the most talented people, the ones that work hard. Those are the ones that get picked on. Those are the ones that get the most hate, that deal with the most pressure, that the coach is going to be as tough as possible. The coach is going to be the hardest one on the best player. Why? Because they rely on you. They want to win the game. As a coach, I'm not going to sit here and yell at my lazy player. Come on, you can do it. I'm going to focus on the ones that want to be there, that want to put in the effort, that want to win, because that's what we have to work with. And you got to choose to who are you going to be? Who do you want to be? What is your purpose? Who are you? Are you that person that wants to win, that wants to be successful, that wants to fight? I can't make you do it. Nobody can. And everyone can sit here and talk to you all day long. Oh, come on, you got this, you got this. But it's up to you at the end of the day. How hard are you going to work? How serious are you going to take this? Are you going to spend time on this? Are you going to fight? Are you going to let these people tell you how good you are? What do they know about you? There's nobody that knows you better than you, or your family, obviously. But that's what mental toughness comes from. You have to be a solid rock where you don't care what anybody thinks of you, because you know your self-worth. You know exactly who you are. You know exactly how good you are and what you bring to the table. And nobody can tear you down. No one. It doesn't matter how old they are. Doesn't matter how good they are. I played professional soccer. You should never let me tell you you're not good enough. You should be like, yeah, well, watch me. That's the mentality you got to have. You got to have watch me mentality. Don't listen to those negative thoughts, those negative people, because it stems from jealousy. And half the time, when somebody tells you that you can't do something, 99% of the time, it's because they couldn't. So they're projecting what they could do onto you. And it is up to you to make sure that you don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do something, whether it's in sports or not. Everybody in this world has their own mission. Everybody wants something. Everybody wants to be the best. But it's your life. It's your choices. Every decision you make, the people you surround yourself with, the people who you look up to, you got to be an open sponge. You got to be able to learn, right? You can't be closed-minded. You can't act like a know-it-all, because if you act like a know-it-all, then you're not going to grow. You're only going to be limited, right? Me, when I was young, I used to play with girls that were like 2 years older than me. And I used to go up against girls that were so much bigger than me, because I wanted to prove a point. I wanted to prove that I wasn't scared of anybody. Okay. 2, I wanted to challenge myself to get stronger. I wasn't the biggest girl. I wasn't the biggest soccer player. I was like 5'4". I wasn't like so tall. A lot of people think you have to be real tall to be a good soccer player. That's not true. You gotta have heart. You have to have fight in you. And the passion's got to be there, and you have to want it. No one can make you want it at the end of the day. So to be mentally tough, it's not given to you. It's earned through time and hours and hard work. You're gonna face hard times, but it's how you handle it, and you got to be prepared for it, right? I personally focused on the negative moments because that's what made me tough. If you fix the negatives into positives, you can't just think everything's positive, right? Oh, what a great life we live. No, it's hard, especially when you're a good athlete. You're going to be people that want to tear you down. You're competing for a spot in the field. You're competing for hours. When you're good and you're great, you get the most eyes on you. You know that? Why? Because people want to be you. People like the way you play. You're so good that everybody's watching you. Everybody's critiquing you. I set the record at my college for the beep test. I don't know if you guys know what the beep test is. It's a fitness test where you have to run and you have to run before the beeps, level 1, level 2. It goes up to all these levels. I was the first one to beat the record at my school. Guess what I had to deal with on my team? Girls were like, make sure you touch the line. Make sure you don't mess up. I didn't have like, come on, Lisa. Like I didn't have all that. I had people watching.
And kids, those are called haters.
They hate you because they ain't you. And that's what it is at the end of the day.
And you gotta love the haters because that's motivation. If you don't have any haters, you're not doing something right. If you have haters, now you know, okay, I'm doing something right. But because nobody cares about the person that's just sitting there doing nothing, just going through the motions, not caring. No one cares about that person because they don't care. So it's the person that's motivated, that's competitive. That's what being an athlete's all about. You got to be competitive. You have to have fight in you, and you have to be prepared to get destroyed sometimes and lose games. And that's part of being an athlete. Injuries, you deal with injuries. It's how you solve them. There's been times I sprained my ankle, and I'm like, okay, I can sit here and be upset and just quit and throw in my towel and be like, whatever, I'm hurt. I'm gonna stay hurt. But no, those are only temporary moments. I'm going to say, you know what? How can I take action? What can I do in this situation? Let me get ice. Let me get some ice. Let me rest. Let me actively heal myself because in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be running and I'm going to be back. And that time period I was out, guess what? Maybe 2 weeks or something. Guess how long I've been playing? My whole life. A lot of times athletes will get injured and they'll think to themselves, oh, I got hurt, so I'm just going to quit because I'm not in shape. Okay, if you say you're not in shape, guess what? You're not going to be in shape. But if you think differently and you say to yourself, I don't care how long I was out, I'm coming back. That's the mentality you want to have.
I love it. Let's show lots of love down there because Lisa is just dropping the fire.
And one thing to remember too, kids, is how our brains work before. Oh, go ahead. Is that EK? Go ahead, buddy.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
But I have a question. Yeah. What was the hardest obstacle you faced being an athlete?
The hardest obstacle being an athlete. I played 5 years of college soccer. I played at 3 universities. One was up north. It was too cold. I had to transfer, go down to Florida. I played in West Palm Beach, and I was doing really great. I was number 1 in fitness, top goal scorer, and you got rewarded every month. If you were top fitness, you got free cleats. So I kept getting free cleats. And guess what? I had haters. And I made a mistake. I got in an argument with a girl, and we got an argument, and I got kicked off the team. I got kicked off the team because it was a strict university, and I thought my whole world was falling apart in that moment. I was like, oh my God, I love soccer. I've been playing all my life. It's going to end like this because I got in an argument with a girl who was jealous of me, who was just, she won at the end of the day. Like if I quit soccer, she won in my head. And I said to myself, there's no way I'm ending my soccer career like this. Are you crazy? I love it too much. So what did I do? I picked myself up. And I said to myself, who's our rival? and it was the University of Tampa. Better, bigger school, better program, everything. I called up the coach. She added me on the team. I went to the University of Tampa, and then I played my old team in a game, and I scored. And we won the game. We won the game. And that was the hardest thing because it was scary. I thought I was never going to play soccer again once I got released from the team because of an argument. Because I dropped down to somebody's level that I should have just never entertained. Because I knew I was doing so well, and I had that fighter mentality in me. I was like, you know what? And I entertained somebody who was jealous of me, and I wasn't the bigger person in that moment. And that was a big growing moment for me. I had to realize what's important and what's not. You know, you gotta always be professional, especially when you're doing great. So when I got released and I scored against my old team, that was the best feeling in the world because I love proving people wrong, and I didn't quit and I didn't give up. So that was amazing. And the coach that released me from the team was now one of my really good friends. And he told me that you're now where you belong. And it was a better soccer team. And he did me a favor because if I never got released from that team, I would have never been probably working with the New York Yankees because they were in the Tampa area. And it actually led me to bigger things because when one door shuts, another opens. So if that ever happens to any of you guys, if you ever have to go through that, just know when one door shuts, another opens. Something else is better out there for you. And everything happens for a reason. In the most hardest situations possible, don't give up. Don't forget your vision and what you love. It all comes down to you. It's your core, right? Think about yourself. What do you want? Why did you start? Go back and find yourself. Don't lose yourself because hard times come in your path. It doesn't matter. Everybody goes through hard times. That's what you have to understand. It's what you do about it. I reacted to my hard time. I said, you know what? I'm going to go find a better team. And then what I do, and I scored against my old team. I walked off with a smile on my face. And that's something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
I love that, bump.
For their kids was, you think about it, there was a moment of fear, and she had a decision to make to pivot, right? And I think we can define fear one of two ways. Those of you that have been on the calls, like, can probably type it in the chat, right? In that moment, she could have said fear means FEAR, forget everything and run, but she didn't. She decided to flip the script and redefine it to face everything and rise, and use that very fear to become fuel to motivate. So when you're sitting there and maybe a setback comes, kids, and you feel that fear kind of creep in, we all know it, right? It comes into our chest a little bit, right up in here. You might feel it in your throat a little bit. What if this happens? What if that happens? But when we reflect back, most things that we fear the most usually never come to fruition. But if we can redefine it just like Lisa did, you can use that very fear to turn into your fuel, which becomes your superpower.
You're the artist. You're the story. You write your story. You control your life. Next question. Let's see. Who's next? How do we...
I think we had the Beckett family next.
So I went through a skin issue, and had like to 5 hospitals, and I was like really rough shape. My feet were really bad. My skin was just doing bad. I just had to go to like different hospitals, some maybe in Greenville, just a lot of different hospitals. But then when we went home one day, my skin became better. God put me through this skin issue for one reason, and now I'm back for another.
Oh, I love that, little buddy. I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Thank you for sharing. Who we got next here? I think
Fernanda, you know who's next?
Yes, we have Janice. I am just sending you a prompt so you can unmute yourself.
How can you keep a positive mindset when you're worried about messing up?
Because a lot of people ask this question to me. The way you handle that is it goes back to time, right? Time's very valuable. What's important? So look at this, right? If you're worrying, what are you focused on? The worry. You're not focused on what you're doing at hand. So I cut out worrying in my life. I say to myself, I don't have time. So I define worrying equals waste of time, because worrying does absolutely nothing for anybody. It's a waste of time. Worrying, nothing good comes out of worrying at all, right? So whatever it is that you're worrying about, forget it. Forget the worry and focus on conquering it and getting after it, right? So if you're thinking to yourself like, oh, we're running fitness, I'm worried if I'm not gonna do good, then you probably won't do good, because that's where your mind's at. That's what you're thinking of. But if you're like, you know what, I don't have time to worry. It was a waste of my time. Worrying is taking away from this mindset. Let's go. Bring it on. I'm just gonna, I don't care. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run as hard as I can. You know? When you focus on that, guess what? Your chances increase. You're so focused on running hard, nothing else matters. It's called tunnel vision. It's called tunnel vision, right? You gotta manage what you focus on. You can't split it. I'm not gonna 50% worry and 50% kind of, because then you're not gonna do good. You're not gonna do it. So whatever it is you want, you focus on that, stick to that, and always say to yourself, I don't have time to worry. I'm too busy. Okay?
I love that.
In there too, because when I was a kid, I worried about a lot of things that never came true, right? And what I learned, the lessons that I took out of that, battling with anxiety as a kid, was anytime I felt anxious, anytime that I worried, I was living in the past that I couldn't change, or I was worrying about the future that in the moment I couldn't control. But what could I control that would make me feel better and I'd feel some sort of momentum or progress? Where my feet are. Living in the minutes and moments where I'm at today. Forget about the past, forget about the future. Where am I? Where my feet are? What can I focus on now that's going to give me a little bit of momentum? And one thing I'll give you guys too is I think that'll help to understand is how our brains work. And we're going to be having a guest come on too that's going to go into this more in depth. But I was just at a mastermind with one of the world's leading brain scientists around neuroscientists. And they talked about how the mind works. And we have a conscious, we have a subconscious, and a non-conscious mind. And what happens is our brain at the subconscious level processes about 60,000 thoughts a day. So if we're focusing on the worry, we're focusing on, the what if, we're going to get more of that, right? It's kind of like this. When mom and dad bought a new car, how many kids on the call, when you saw mom and dad bought that car, you started to see that car everywhere? Right? Like mom got a brand new minivan, and then all of a sudden you saw minivans all over the road. Dad got a brand new BMW, and you saw BMWs all over the road. Whatever car it was, you saw more of it. Well, that's the science behind how our brain works. If we have negativity, worry, stress, anxiety, you're actually building neural pathways, and you're building into your subconscious more worry. So just like you start to see, it's not that more of those minivans appeared on the road or more BMWs existed. It just told your brain at the subconscious level what was most important. So you start to see more of it. And when we have, again, negative input, we start to see more of that negative input, have worry. But the great thing is when we start to have that miracle mentality, I can do anything. I'm going to put the work in. I'm going to do it. Everything that Lisa is talking about, well, guess what? You're going to get more of that. You're going to get more positivity in your life. You're going to get more momentum in your life. You're going to get more confidence into your life. And what happens is that momentum then starts to snowball. And just that Lisa has on this call, you notice she's got a swag to her. She's got a pep in her step. She's got that level of confidence that she's talking to. Well, that didn't happen overnight. That happened with consistency, persistency, and allowed her to have that miracle mindset, that miracle mentality that each and every one of you possess. But it's operating that way every single day. So what do I have to fear? It's not going to kill me. Nothing bad's going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to be the worst day of my life if this happens. At the end of the day, these things happen to all other people. But if I put in the work in enough and I come in there with that confidence, that pep in my step, that swag, and I do that every single day, that I know that I'm going to rise to the occasion. And eventually, whatever it is you're doing, whether you're playing soccer, you're playing baseball, you're like Lincoln on the call with a sunflower seed business, and you're going to be rocking it. So that's what you got to tell yourself, but it doesn't happen overnight. It happens day after day with consistency.
Who do we got next?
Dora and Iki. Okay, I just sent you a prompt, guys.
You said Adora
Or Duke.
or Duke? Was Duke next? Duke, I think you're up. Feel free to unmute. Would love to hear your question.
Kind of like a fire pit where the more haters that you get, the more you, first of all, you know that you're doing something right. And second of all, you're growing. So it's like so the haters really feed your fire. And my question was how many universities have you actually been to, or how many places have you been practicing soccer, and how did you get into those situations?
I've played soccer since I was like 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on teams, club teams. We played in tournaments. I played on, I think, almost every field in the East Coast of the United States. A lot of colleges. So when you play in games and you're part of a team, and being a part of a team is something bigger than yourself, right? So when you're part of something greater than yourself, it takes you to a lot of amazing places, and it introduces you to a lot of amazing people from different backgrounds. And what's awesome about that is whether it's soccer, whether it's baseball, of any sport, really, it's amazing because there's everybody in your team is so different. But you might even speak a different language. You might be from a different country, different state, all different backgrounds. Everybody's so different. There's not another you, right? But what's amazing about that is that doesn't matter, because everybody loves the game. Everybody speaks that language. Like the game of soccer, and I play with a lot of girls from Spain, Barcelona, Colombia, or everywhere around the world. I played with some of the top girls in the country, and we all shared the same thing in common: is taking the ball, passing it, shooting, scoring, working together as a team. Your sport and the game you play speaks its own language, and it's bigger than who you are and what you are. And to be a part of that is amazing. So it took me to a lot of different places playing on a team, because we played against other teams in other locations, and it forces you to travel.
Okay.
Love it. Great question. Great answer.
Who do we got next?
If you were playing soccer, would you quit or get back up again and try again? I would usually quit if something is bad, but what would you do?
Never quit if something's bad. If you get injured, or if you miss the ball, you kick it out of bounds. If you make a mistake, you never quit. That's too easy. And if you quit, you never cared. Right? You can't make somebody care about something. You got to care. You got to want to care. If you quit easily, then it's not good. You don't care enough. And you have to care. And oh my gosh, if I quit, I would never been where I'm at today. I kept going. Because every time you fall, you must rise in any situation in life, not even just soccer. If you know, if you have a business, if you have a financial year that's tough, you must rise from it. You don't stay down. If someone pushes you down the floor, are you not going to get back up? Are you just going to lay there till, a couple weeks? No, that's ridiculous. That's crazy. You must get back up. That's what strength is, right? So never be a quitter. Never quit. That's way too easy. Way too easy. And you're better than that. You have a lot in you. You're amazing. You have to always tell yourself that. You always got to look in the mirror and love who you are. And you got to tell yourself how amazing you are and it's crazy. You have so much life ahead of you that you're going to accomplish so many great things. You have so much to look forward to. Life is amazing. It's so exciting. And it's so fun that you have to always cherish every moment and never quit. Never quit. That's way too easy. That's boring. If you quit, that's boring. So always keep trying, even when it gets tough, because everybody's experienced tough times. Everyone does. It's part of life.
I love that. I love that.
Seek discomfort. We live in a world that teaches us to seek comfort. But when you're in a place of comfort, where everything's comfortable, I'm not fearful, I feel good all the time, you're not in a place of growth. And as human beings, we are meant to grow, right? We're meant to become a better version of ourselves. That's what allows us to get to our dreams. So when you're feeling that discomfort, it can show up in a lot of different ways. It can feel like anxiety, a little tightness in your chest. You feel it in your throat, nervousness. It can feel like I got to speak in front of my class. Like, oh my gosh, I got the jitters now. Like it shows up in many different ways in many different emotions. But when you realize that that's growth, that by facing that very thing that might be discomfort, it's going to lead to getting you everything that you want and more. Because most people run away from discomfort. And if you embrace it, it's just like going to the gym. If I just went and looked at the gym every day and I was afraid of it, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't worked out in a long time. I'm not going to pick up a dumbbell. I would never grow. I would never gain muscle. I would never become better. But by putting in the heavy work, but by putting in the action, all of that promotes growth. And that's every way of life. Just like this, myself, Lisa, everybody talking on this call, we were not natural speakers. Dave will tell you, we worked at Circuit City together. I was not a natural speaker. I was an introvert, and I was afraid to talk in front of people. But one day I got promoted to a manager, and they're like, Dave, every single day you got to talk in front of people. So I was forced into discomfort, and that discomfort of talking in front of people eventually took something that was uncomfortable and made it incredibly comfortable. And then eventually doing it long enough, got pretty darn good at it. And then took myself from being a real shy kid. I couldn't talk to anybody, didn't know how to communicate with anybody. And I just kind of kept to myself and was an introvert and trained myself to be an extrovert. And that's every part of life, kids, is like when you feel that part of discomfort, well, know that that's growth. And what that can do is take it from fear and turn it into excitement, because you're going to grow and you're going to be a better version of yourself, which is going to get you closer to where you want to go. I think we had the next question. I think we had Duke up again. And we'll stay on a few minutes after.
How do you stay confident? I reinforce in my head who I am. I am genuinely proud of who I am. And I always think back to what my father and my mom taught me, like they thought the best of me. They think of the best of me. So basically I always tell myself, you're tough. Yeah, and you have to tell yourself that. You have to know that's where it starts. You have to know your self-worth, who you are, and you have to be proud of yourself. Now, when you go through a tough time, that's second, right? Okay, no, like I'm tough. I know who I am. I know how amazing I am. Now this is a tough time. Now you got to say to yourself, I can get through this. No problem, because I can get through anything. Right? You got to be confident in who you are. And that's it. That's it. You have to be confident in who you are because that's your situation that you're handling, right? So tough times, we know they're going to happen. Everybody goes through a tough time in different ways, right? But it's you being prepared for that tough time, right? That like I used to hang out with, like, older people. Like I would hear stories that they go through, and then I watch and I learn and I understand and I see what they how they handle it, and then I think like, okay, like this stuff happens in life, and you learn like that too. But if you're always thinking positive, everything's positive, then when the negative thing comes to you or when the problem comes to you, it's gonna be unexpected because you're not prepared. It's important for you now to know that there are hard times. It does exist. It's important to know that, and then now with knowing that, now you can handle it because you almost see it coming sometimes. Like you have to tell yourself, like, I can handle anything. It's fine. Because it's only a certain chapter in your life, right? The page is going to turn eventually. Things are going to get better. Hard times are temporary moments. They don't last forever. If someone to punch you in the arm, it might hurt for like 2 seconds, right? But it'll go away later. Like injury, you heal internally, physically, everything, you heal. So it's like, you got to tell yourself, you got to be positive and confident, know who you are, know how strong you are, be strong, tell yourself you're strong. Don't ever think you're not strong. Because then you become not strong and become weak. It's all about mindset, right? You got to know who you are. Know who you are, be proud of who you are, and never let anybody or anything tear you down. You have to be that solid. Okay?
And I think this
along with that too, kids. You're getting some amazing advice from Lisa here today. And like you can reframe your reality. A good thing to start with, wake up every single day and look in the mirror and tell yourself who you are. Like, I'm amazing. I am the greatest. I'm going to accomplish great things. I am loved. So it's like those positive affirmations, what it's doing is it's wiring the brain to excellence. It's not just woo-woo, but if I think this way and I act this way and I do this way every single time, and I just show up, that I'm going to get everything that I want out of life and more. And if you keep telling yourself that, I'll give you an example. When I get on a stage to speak, I used to get, pretty fearful. If I'm talking about something that I haven't talked about before and it's new, I'll feel a little anxiety creep in. But you know what I do? Before I get on that stage, I will give that talk a dozen times. I'll close my eyes. I'll visualize that I'm on that very stage. I'll do it over and over and over again because I know, what's uncommon? Putting in the work that way. And then when I get on that stage, it's like I've already done it 12 times. So my confidence level goes from 0 to fear because I've never done it before. So all of a sudden, I'm visualizing I did the talk. But then the next time I visualize it, I'm closing my eyes again and I'm picturing all the people in the audience. And then the next time I do it again, but I do it a little bit more swag, a little bit more pep in my step, a little bit more energy, and I'm visualizing more people in the audience, a bigger crowd. So the things that I very fear the most, I act as if they're around me, and then I execute those things and I do those things. Whether you're playing soccer, man, close your eyes, act like you're in a championship game. That's what Michael Jordan did all the time, right? Is he visualized, because our brains do not know the difference between what we visualize and what we actually experience in life. So if you do something, you put in the work over and over again, you visualize it over and over again, your brain thinks you've done it. And where confidence comes from, kids, is repetition, persistence, consistency, right? Because at one point you weren't confident riding a bike, but you got there somehow, right? You did it enough. At one point you weren't confident swimming, because when you first jumped in the pool, you thought you were going to drown because you never did it before, but now you're pretty darn good swimmers. At one point, you probably don't remember it when you're a kid. You didn't know how to walk, but then you walked it. In the recipe was you did it over and over and over again, where now you guys walk without thinking. But that at one point in your life, it took you a lot of doing that. But had you fell down and never got back up as a kid, you never would have learned how to walk, right? And now it's something we don't even think about anymore. But that's how life goes. And then when you start to realize and understand that, hey, that's the key and the secret sauce to life, well, that's what's going to allow you guys to get to whatever destination you want to go.
Yeah, don't overthink. Sometimes that's like self-sabotage, you know, like just like blinking. Like we don't think like, oh, I gotta blink now. You know, it's just natural, right? So like when you have a task at hand, just go after it and do it. Don't worry. Don't face those negative thoughts. Just, you know, and that's that. Just get after it, whatever it is that you have to get after, and just know that it's not gonna last forever, that moment. You know, there's life goes on. The clock never stops. It's always ticking.
Some hands up. Are those hands?
Your best?
No, never. You got to maintain being the best. So, for example, say one of your goals are to be a starter on forward on the soccer field, right? Once you get that starting position, you don't just, all right, I did it, I'm done. No, because someone else wants that spot, right? So you got to even try harder. You got to really, you have to claim that spot. That's my spot. You have to, why do you belong there? Why is that your spot, right? You have to be amazing while you're on the field playing. Otherwise, you can get right off. You can get taken right off because somebody else who's working harder can take that spot, right? So once you accomplish one goal, always set another one, right? What's the next goal? You know, there's always, it's kind of like a staircase. You know, you accomplish this goal. Okay, what's the next step, right? And that's what growth is. Always keep growing. You never stop. Never stop. Never get too comfortable either, no matter what you're doing. Always set new goals for yourself and always strive to be the best at whatever it is that you want to be.
Go ahead, Maya. Once you, how how do you once you reach your goal keep celebrate without, how do you keep going with, do you celebrate or don't celebrate once you reach your goal?
So, of course, when you have wins in life and when you accomplish your goal, of course you celebrate, right? But you keep going, right? It's like this addicting feeling. So usually when you accomplish something, of course celebrate, of course have fun and praise yourself and reward yourself and be happy and remember that feeling. Remember that feeling because when you accomplish that goal, remember how it feels like and be addicted to that mentality because that is a mentality you don't want to lose. Once you lose that, that's very scary. So when you want to create new goals, I like to write things down on paper. It brings it to existence. I like to get a paper and a pen, and I like to write down, okay, what are my goals for this year, this month, this week, or whatever it is you're doing, baseball, football, swimming, anything. You want to pass a test, you want to be, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to be in life, write it down. Write it on paper. Bullet point some goals. Once you accomplish them, create new ones. Just like life goes on, you know, keep getting better. Never stop bettering yourself. That's the number one goal for everybody in life is to better oneself.
Love that. I love.
Who's that? I think we got a final question.
Have like goals in life. How do you like accomplish them?
Depends on what your goal is. But there's steps, right? Sometimes there's little wins, there's little steps you got to take to accomplish a goal. So if you want to be the fastest person on your team, you gotta practice at it, right? You gotta put in the time, the effort, you gotta run, you gotta challenge yourself, you have to work at it. And sometimes that doesn't happen overnight. It depends what your goal is. So some goals may take longer to accomplish than other goals. One goal you can have is to get in a good habit, like making your bed every morning, right? That could be accomplished quick. So if you say to yourself, okay, for this week, I want to make my bed every morning and get in a good habit of doing that, that goal can be accomplished right away. And then but it depends on how big and small your goals are. If your goal is to start a business and make X amount of money in a year, I mean, that might take a year, it might take 2 years. It depends on what your goal is. But yeah.
Love it. Love it. Tallying up all the participation after the call, we'll be sending out a few gifts. So the top 3 people on the call participated the most will be getting some gifts. And then anybody that comes next time and brings a friend that hasn't been on a call before, we're going to have a $20 Amazon gift card for you. And then we'll have a special gift for your friend you bring on too.
Should you have the same positive mindset for everything you do?
Yeah. For everything you do, absolutely. Always have that mindset. It all comes down to who you are, right? And you have to put in 100% effort in everything you do, right? Because my biggest thing was, God, that would just suck to feel like I didn't try, because that's like wasting time, right? So I like to put in, I have a lot of energy, so I like to give it my all in every single thing that I do, whether it's cooking or baking a cake or painting a picture. I like to try my best at every single thing I do, because when you try your best, you only get better from there. If you only give 20% effort, it's not good. It's not good. It's not on track to bettering yourself. So always give it your all in every single thing you do, even if you don't feel like doing it, like going to practice on a rainy day. If it's raining outside and you don't feel like going, guess what? You're there. So guess what? You might as well make the best of that moment, right? Because you're there.
So sometimes I feel like I get hurt because I feel like other people are laughing at me, even though they don't. How do you stop yourself from doing that?
So
Having that happen.
It comes down to, what do you care about? Do you care about what other people think? Is that how you want to live your life? Or do you care about you? You got to always put yourself first, because if you care about what other people think, that's where your time, your focus goes to, and that's a waste of time. You don't live your life to satisfy others. You have to always put yourself first, right? Do what's best for yourself. And there will be people that make fun of you. You know how many people made fun of me? So many. You know how many people laughed at my dreams? So many. And I've gotten further than every single one of them. And if I sat there and I cared about what they think, that means I don't care enough about myself. You have to care about only you. And just know that there will be people that make fun of you, but it means you're doing something right. Maybe they're jealous of you. Maybe they want to be like you. Maybe they can't do what you're doing. Or if you make a mistake and they laugh at you, what have they never made a mistake?
How fast you really are, Cheetah.
Never. They've never, so everybody makes mistakes, right?
Pretend you're like super fast. I'll go slow.
Don't worry about what other people think of you, right? Because it doesn't matter what people think, right? So you got to always just worry about yourself, worry about your happiness, what makes you happy. And if you know you're doing the right thing at the end of the day and you're giving it your all, that's all that matters.
Fill your bucket with joy.
And I would add to that is
During those moments, learn how to laugh yourself during those moments. I'll tell you, that was the secret to me when I was a kid, but it even carried on into adulthood. I'll tell you, I have a boy that's on the autism spectrum. He struggles. We couldn't find good people to care for him, good clinics. And when I tried to give advice to somebody that was in my house, they laughed at me and they said, "Oh, you must have your autism license and have 20 years experience like me, like you know more than me," right? And what I just did in that moment is I laughed and I smiled, because now what I'm going to do out of that is I found a way to take that and turn it into my purpose. So now I'm opening one of the best autism clinics in the country, and I'm going to laugh my way to helping so many other kids that this place decided not to help. And it's really taking that and harnessing it. And it can be powerful one of two ways. It can be powerful, allowing it to paralyze us, or it can be powerful, allowing it to propel us, right? To get exactly what we want. It's kind of like taking rocket fuel and pulling. And then when you start to look at those situations, well, they're laughing at me. Well, this person isn't going to be my best friend. They're not going to be, at my birthday party. They're not going to be with me later on in life when I get a career. So what do they matter in the grand scheme of things? But then when you start to operate and think that way, just over time, and again, you take that and turn what could paralyze you into propelling you, then all of a sudden we take all these life moments and we turn them into fuel to just give us momentum to where we want to go. So start looking at those situations, those people, whatever it might be, is fuel. And also, kids, try to understand too. Sometimes it's compassion. They'll think that way because things might not be as good as you have it at home, but they don't tell anybody that, right? So it's like, don't allow them to bring you down to their level if they're treating you a certain way that's maybe negative, but instead give them love and compassion back, because the very thing that they could be missing that's causing them to project that way to you is that very thing that they're lacking in life. And if you give it to them enough, all people can change, and you can change hearts and minds, kids.
Yeah, I would just laugh. I would laugh at them. I would always make people mad. Like if someone didn't get their way, because people pick on you to get a reaction out of you. That's what they do. They want to make you mad. And if you show them that you're mad, they win. But if you show them you're laughing, you're like, haha, it's funny. They're like, oh my gosh, why aren't you mad? Oh my God.
Another two.
Yeah. So always put a smile on your face, like David said. Yeah.
And I think we got one
question here, Mario Maya, if you wanted to ask it, and then we'll wrap up. And what I want to make sure we do is Lisa's been very generous with her time, kids, and she stayed on a little bit extra too to answer questions. So make sure to give a lot of love in the chat, a lot of fire, a lot of emojis. Feel free at the end to unmute and give her a big thank you.
Before you go, I have a quick question. If you're playing a team game and your team looks down on you, how do you win the game?
In what way? If they look down on you, like if they're upset, they're losing?
Like, if you miss a goal, so now
If you miss a goal, you got to just forget the mistake and move on. Right? When you make a mistake, you gotta just remember the clock keeps running. So you gotta move on from it very quickly. Because if you don't move on from it very quickly, you're kind of like mentally checked out of the game, and you're not really helping your team, right? So you got to move on fast. If you take a bad touch, or you make a mistake, or whatever it is that mistake you make in your sport or your game, you got to move on from it quickly, because you can't rewind and fix a mistake. You can't. It's impossible. So you got to just focus on how you move forward, and that's all you can do.
But what if you lose the game because the teammates won't want to interact with you because they're worried that they might lose the game? And we're not.
What did you say? If they don't interact with you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the end of the day, your coach is gonna probably talk to the team and discuss what you guys can do better for the game, and you move on from it.
And I'll say one last thing there too is just don't let anybody else's influence impact how you show up. When you show up as the best version of you every day, regardless of the people around you, you tune them out and you focus on you and you keep showing up. What's going to happen is a better and better version of you is going to continuously show up. And then eventually, this is what happens, kids. You transform. And once you transform, everybody wants a seat at your table. And you get from being the kid that, hey, I wanted this, I wanted to be at this table, wanted to be at that table, to the person that sets the table, and you get to pick who gets to sit at your table. So just know, by not letting that impact you and showing up day after day, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling. It's not going to happen overnight, but every day I'm hustling. All of a sudden, you look back a year from now you're setting the table and you're not worried about anybody them because they're all chasing you. And they're all wanting to be like you.
But great questions, kids. Great
participation. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. And again, let's everybody unmute and give a warm thank you and yell, holler, whatever you want to do. The love and attention she deserves.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
I wish you guys the best of success. Be tough. Remember, don't let anybody push you down. You get right back up.
I'll leave you guys with this. It's kind of like having a good mentor of mine told me, have a farmer's mentality. If you think about a farmer, when your kids pass a farm on the side of the road and you see a big old crop, right? See, a farmer, a good farmer, has got to have a lot of faith. I'll tell you why. Because what does a farmer have to do? They got to first come in, they got to till their land, they got to plant the seed, they got to fertilize it, and then what do they have to do? They got to water it every day. But depending on what you're trying to farm, it might take months, it might take years before you ever see anything come above the surface. You got to keep watering the land, and because you can't see what's coming to reality, that's a lot how life works. So a great farmer knows and has faith. Well, if I keep showing up and watering every single day and I'm faithful to my land, I fertilize, I water, I till, and I do that over and over again. And even though I can't see everything above the surface and I can't see what's happening underneath the ground, I have faith. Eventually, again, it might take 6 months, might take a year, depending on the crop you're trying to get, it might take 2 years. But the farmers that show up every single day, even when they can't see the fruits of their labor, they end up with the biggest harvest of abundance. But the farmer that loses faith and says, you know what? I can't see what's on the ground anyways. I've been watering day after day for about 5 months, and I don't see anything. I feel tired today. I'm not going to water. And you know what? Tomorrow, because I didn't water my land today, my land looks a lot like it did yesterday when I didn't water, the same way it did when I did water. So I'm not going to show up again today. So the difference between those two farmers, they could go 5 months watering every day and then all of a sudden get frustrated and not water for 3 days straight. And they lose the whole crop because without water, the crop below the ground dies. But the farmer that stayed persistent, consistent, that did it every single day with great enthusiasm, even though he couldn't see it and had faith, waited 1 more month and had the biggest crop of abundance. And that's a lot how life works. So everything that you want in life and more, think about yourself as the farmer. Some days you're planting the seeds. Some days you're working your land. Some days you're just watering with great faith and never losing enthusiasm, knowing that even though what you can't see will eventually come to reality. And it's those that say true and those that stay faithful that have the biggest crops of abundance. cornfields that are a mile high. But those that lose faith, even at the very, very end, are the ones that have nothing but empty land. So act like you're the farmer and show up with faith and enthusiasm and consistency. And I promise you, kids, if you do that, every day I'm hustling, you will get everything that you want out of life and more, and you'll be living your dreams.